Hello, guys and dolls. Welcome back to my podcast, Conversations with Xalea. I'm your host, Xalea Lorraine. Today is Wednesday, December 11, 2024. And today, I'm returning to Anatomy. In this edition of Anatomy of an Arc, I'm going to discuss Penha's love arc and Cheias De Charme. And for those who don't know what Cheias De Charme is, Cheias De Charme was a Brazilian telenovela from 2012 that had Brazil in a chokehold right along with Avenida Brazil. And the whole premise of Cheias De Charme is about three maids who become overnight sensations from making a viral video singing a song dissing their bosses. In their misadventures of getting sabotaged by Cheyenne, the main antagonist, a vain electro-foro diva that two of the maids used to work for. And while the show was very beloved, there is one thing about one ending regarding the show that is very disliked, and that is the ending of Penha's story arc. Now, for those asking who Penha is, Penha was the maid played by Thais Araújo, a well-known Brazilian actress, and to give a little backstory on Penha before she and the Emperor gets hit it big, she grew up and lived in the favelas, and with her two siblings, Alana and Ilano, who she had to raise when their mother and father abandoned them. And around that time, around some time, she met and married a man named Sandro, played by Marcos Palmeira, who used to be a bricklayer, and they have a son together named Patrick. And Sandro suffered a back injury that pretty much led to him leaving his job as a bricklayer, leaving Penha to be the main provider for her family. And at the beginning of the series, Sandro is pretty much a bum. He pretty much uses his back injury, which is probably healed by now, as an excuse to not get a job, and spends his time at the bar, pretty much doing typical bum behaviors. Also, side note, it's kind of full circle that in the previous novella I covered, Camarigado, Marcos played a guy whose love interest had a bum of an ex-husband, and now he's playing and in Cheias De Charme, he's playing a bum character. And pretty much throughout the entire series, Sandro does a series of scams and schemes that wind up causing Penha a lot of grief until she winds up dumping him, kicking him to the curb. And concerned with that, we'll go all day with schemes. The main three I'm going to mention is him. First, he is the first one was him selling these faulty phones that was causing that exploded due to him working for some local, pretty much criminal. He was selling these phones, and they caused any person that was using them, it would explode on impact. Like in the phones that he sold, which happened with Socorro and Maslova. And then the second scheme of his was him selling pirated DVDs of the Emperor's performance. At this point in the show, the Emperors, they're really they're already successful at this point, and the Emperors wind up performing a concert with the duo behind the song Lay Lay Lay, which is a very catchy song, by the way. And Sandro was working with that criminal dude to pretty much sell pirated DVDs, which Tom Bastos, their manager, winds up finding out about. It causing Penha even more grief. Come to think about it, Sandro was in the raid, indirectly causing one of the tensions that caused the Empress to break up in the first place by him giving giving Peanut all this trouble. And the last and third scheme I'm going to discuss is him enrolling his son in a dance contest and betting Buddy on it to pay off that gangster dude. Which wind up backfiring because Patrick, he winds up suffering from stage fright. It winds up chickening out of the competition, which to not to mention the fact he had his son miss a day of school just to practice for said contest. And when Peanut finds out that pretty much Sandro enrolled in that contest to pretty much bet money on his son's win, she pretty much chews him out for it justifiably. And it gets worse. Peanut is pretty much officially through with Sandro and decides to finally charge him for child support, which for Patrick, which Sandro for some reason cannot afford to pay, which leads to him going to jail and getting arrested right in front of Patrick. And while he's in jail, he winds up bumping to that criminal dude he used to work for, who he pretty much snitched on and went to jail. And winds up confessing to Alano about the whole pirating the DVD thing. Now, while Sandra was pretty much causing Peanut grief, Peanut moved on with two different men. The first man she was with after Sandra was Otto, the son of Conrado. And Otto was a well-off businessman who was estranged from his son Conrado due to Maslow's manipulations, and Otto pretty much disowns Conrado when he find out that he was pretty much doing shady stuff that caused him to get this with Ernani, that caused him to get disbarred. And Otto and Peanut, they wound up starting dating. And Sandro is so jealous of Otto and Peanut dating that he straight up punches Otto in the face, which Peanut winds up chastising him for. And this is the first time Sandro has attacked someone that Peanut was close to. A few episodes earlier, he also attacked Gentil Solares, the radio host that Peanut had a crush on, which I'll bring him up in my final thoughts. For pretty much, I forgot exactly why. I think it was either because of him hitting on Peanut and or him attacking Vasco, which is a well-known football team in Brazil. But yeah, Sandro was so jealous that Peanut moving on, that he punched Otto in the face. But for some reason, things didn't work out between Peanut and Otto, and she winds up moving on with Jilson. Now, Jilson, who pretty much was introduced later in the show, is Legia's old flame, who's the biological father of Samuel, and he's a beach guy who's based in Pernambuco. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And Peanut met him at one of the Impregat shows and winds up entering a relationship with him, much to the chagrin of Legia, who still had a flame for him. And it temporarily dampened their friendship. But randomly, out of nowhere, in the finale, Peanut and Samuel break up, and at the wedding of Rosario and Ignacio and Sita and Milano, which is a double wedding, which I'd never been to one before, Peanut gets back together with Sandro, who at this point had redeemed himself. And let me discuss a little bit about Sandro's redemption arc. Sandro, realizing there was ways, decides to pretty much all of a sudden stop being a bub and get a job to win Peanut back. And while working as a cab driver, he stumbled upon a suitcase full of cash that belonged that a businessman left behind, which he returned to said businessman, and he becomes an overnight hero. Then not to mention the whole thing of him training dogs or doing something with dogs for some reason, which lends him on. I hope I get the names, the hostess name correctly. Fostal or Fosto or Fostal. I hope I got the name. I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name. Dressed up in a dog costume. And he winds up having a local community center named after him for his achievements, I guess. Which winds up redeeming him and Isaac Pena, who pretty much gets back with Sandro. And that's the end of Pena's love arc. And now let's get into why it was reviled. It does not take rocket science to know why Pena getting back with Sandro was reviled, because in fact, Sandro literally spent most of Cheias De Charme giving Pena a lot of grief with all of his crazy, zany adventures. But it took him pretty much also not want to be a bum for him to change his Pena, potentially him losing his family to a rich guy, for him to change his ways. And at first I thought it was it was reasonable for Pena to get back with Sandro because it's a novella and it's always status quo for the person to get back with the person they were with originally. But now that pretty much, but looking back at it now, they should have had Pena get with Gentil Suarez instead of Sandro, because by her getting back with Sandro, what if Sandro decides to all of a sudden quit pretty much stop working and go back to his dusty bum ways, which a lot of people don't even factor to it. And not to mention, with this potential Cheias De Charme movie, don't be surprised, considering how reviled that ending was. Don't be surprised if they do have if a Cheias De Charme movie is made, keyword being if, they try to pull a that 90s show revision with the ending. But I digress. And as I get into the fact how they gave Pena, the lead black female character in Cheias De Charme, an effed up ending in a romantic arc, considering she had 3 men who were well off, had good paying jobs. One was a surfer and one was a businessman, and she pretty much ended things with both of them to get back with her ex-husband / father of her son, who spent most of their marriage being not wanting to get a job by using his back injury. Which, don't get me wrong, a back injury is just, there are people that can't find work due to disability, but then again, there are some people that have disabilities that still work. But the fact that he uses a back injury that was probably healed just so as an excuse to not get a job, and spends his time going to the bar instead of finding a job to support his family, leaving Pena as the lone breadwinner of the family, that's messed up. That's messed up. And I know this may be a false equivalent, but Pena going back to Sandro is on par with a domestic abuse victim going back to their abuser. Which I know this false equivalent will get me in trouble, but that's just how I feel. And then not to mention, in regards to the love interest, Pena's love interest, which I will bring up with my second next point. With Pena's love interest, all 3 of them, they're either white or light-skinned looking men. Otto is a white Brazilian man, then Gilson is a white passing man, and then Sandro Sandro looks Sandro looks mixed-ish. It has a very swarthy skin tone. A few weeks ago, I had a conversation with a friend about the actor that plays Sandro, and both Marquito's parents, they look white passing, and his daughter is white passing, but considering looking at his parents, he does kind of look mixed-ish, though the friend I chatted with thinks that he thinks otherwise. But again, concerning the racial mixing going on, and concerning that there's a lot the miscegenation going on in Brazil, you could argue that he's multi-generation mix, but that's neither here or there. But which leads me to my next point, and this is a pattern I noticed with a lot of Brazilian novellas. And I'm saying specifically Brazilian novellas since they're the one they're the one country with novellas that have black characters. And the pattern I noticed that a lot of black novella and this is prevalent in the novellas I watched, is that the black characters, be it if they're be it the supporting character, lead characters, supporting character, superior characters, or minor characters, they're always in an interracial relationship. Which there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just stating an observation, which is ironic since two Brazilian telenovelas in the 1980s, Bala Comigo and Corpo a Corpo, had some little brief controversy in regards to having an interracial couple. In Camargado, the eldest two children of Rose, Tarciso, and Gloria have white love interest. Tarciso with Luli and Eurydice, who are girls in his age group, and then Gloria with Nuno, Roberto, and that guy in the police department, who are way older than her, which is problematic in itself. And then Rosie with Gustavo, and down with Heloisa. Namely, these interracial couplings, the black characters, they tend to be paired up with white or Pardo characters. Then in Cheias De Charme, Pena's love interests are white or light skinned, as I mentioned earlier. And that's from the novellas I watched. Though I do have some novellas saved where there was a black Brazilian couple in there, like Vai na Fé and Lado a Lado, which I have yet to watch, but I have to check them out soon. And even with black novella characters, they always tend to be screwed over in their relationships, and that they either lose their significant other or something bad happens to them, like Adonio do Batasso, which is another Marcos Palmera novella. His love interest, Gilda, who he marries to move off of Maria de Paz. And this is always a trend in a lot of movies and TV shows, that in order for the main couple being shipped to the endgame, the person that they're with has to be either a slime ball or in bad health. And in this case, Gilda, she winds up suffering she winds up getting diagnosed with cancer and winds up dying, and later winds up dying 100 plus episodes into the novella, but without giving Amadou his blessing to be with Maria de Paz. And then with Paraíso Tropical, the novella that I rage quit on, Camila Batinga's character, Bibo, is pretty much a mistress to Olavo, essentially. And also, even though it's not a novella, another example of a black couple in a Brazilian work is Fiend, which I also covered on this podcast episode, which you could check out, with the couple Lia and Neto, who are the only couple in the series that remained together till death do us part, which is while the other couples all had their own brought to bring it up to due to their own dysfunctions. Also, if you have the chance, check out Theme, by the way. It's a great series, and I prefer it much better than the book. But moving on, and who Pina should have been, but in my opinion, Pina should have been with Gentil Serrares, in my opinion, because in fact, Dad, in their interaction with each other, they did have some great chemistry, and I'm surprised they haven't had her get with Gentil. She didn't date Gentil before she met Otto, because a lot of people say that she should have been with Otto throughout the rest of the series. And for those asking why with Otto, by the way, Otto wind up moving on with her neighbor Yvonne, the aunt of Vanessa. They pretty much wind up marrying her, which makes her more well off at the end. But anyways, that's my take on Pina's love arc. If you have any other thoughts regarding my episode, please leave them in the comments on YouTube or on Spotify. You can check out this episode on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Iheartradio, wherever platforms my show is available on. And in the next episode, I will pretty much, since I've been discussing telenovelas, I'm thinking about discussing Brazilian telenovelas cliches. And I'm saying that since most of these cliches that I've listed, they apply not just the Spanish novellas, that everyone like to discuss, but the Brazilian novellas. And even with Brazilian novellas, if they are shown on American or Spanish language TV, it's namely the abridged versions, which pretty much, in the abridged version, they pretty much cut out the non-important storylines, the non-important scenes / filler, which it was shortened by a few episodes. But pretty much I will discuss and tackle certain telenovela cliches. And then my next video is pretty much Beat Xalea Lorraine, where I pretty much discuss a little bit by myself and pretty much the podcast. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and follow my podcast. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!